It's 9:37 here on WRKO. You know, headlines the last couple of weeks have been so much about the tariffs. And a lot of people, trade wars, and is it good and is it not good? And was this a smart thing to do? And what's going to be the ultimate outcome for me as a consumer in this country? All questions that really, I think time will maybe play it out, but you kind of need an expert to really understand what tariffs are all about and trade wars to be able to answer a lot of those questions. And we are joined this morning by Matt Peck. He is the owner of a local financial advisory group. He's also an author, Mind the Gap, the Cracks in the American Retirement System. Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Happy Monday, Kim.
It's a happy Monday to you. By the way, also the host of SHP's Retirement Roadmap radio show, which can be heard right here on WRKO.
Very true. Thanks for having me again.
You bet. It's good to have you. Let's talk about the tariffs. What exactly are they for those who are really, not clear on what that means?
No, absolutely. I'd love to start at the beginning. And so basically tariffs are taxes on imports. Okay? So let me tell you a story. I'm a big blueberry guy, right? Love fresh blueberries all throughout the year. And during the summertime, it's no problem. I go to the local grocery store and it's in season. I can get my fresh blueberries without any problems. But let's say it's nowadays, and if I want fresh blueberries, I have to import those blueberries from South America. And now, let's say President Trump decides to put a 25% tariff on blueberries. Well, me as a consumer, I'm stuck in a bind. I'm either A, having to pay more for those blueberries, or B, I say, you know what, that's a little bit too pricey for me. I say no. And then think about the supply chain and all the workers along the supply chain that get affected because now that product isn't moving. And then most importantly, of the farmer in South America that just wants to sell his crops, and he can't obviously make any money because no one's buying it because there's a tariff on the blueberries. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. Does it ultimately result in a trade war?
Well, that is the biggest concern right now. I mean, optimists are saying, don't worry about it. It's all bluster. It's a bargaining tactic, because, we're currently negotiating or renegotiating NAFTA. And so maybe President Trump is using it as to kind of bully Canada and Mexico into accepting some of his trade policies. Or maybe he's using it as sort of a tool against NATO, where he wants some defense spending increases in form of our European allies. So our optimists are saying, no, don't worry. This is just a bargaining tactic, out of the deal. This is how he operates. Now, the pessimists and a lot of folks out there are very concerned that this will escalate, that it will get worse. And in fact, the EU is already talking about targeting or having their own tariffs, targeting things like motorcycles or bourbon. And so let's say you are a Harley-Davidson employee in Wisconsin, or you're Jack Daniels in Kentucky. You're not happy about this because if tariffs come back on us, then they get hurt.
Sure. And ultimately that is a trade war, which I think a lot of people have wondered what exactly is a trade war, right?
Right, it's just tariff upon tariff upon tariff. So just tit for tat, back and forth. And so it just leads to a lot of uncertainty, both obviously in the stock market as well as for consumers. And so we hope it's just a lot of hot air, really knock on wood, because all tariffs do is really slow down trade, and that's not good for anybody.
Now, Matthew, during the course of all of this, the president has said that we have a trade deficit, and other countries have said that's not true. What is a trade deficit? Explain to people what that is.
Well, a trade deficit is just, are we importing more than we export? Are the things that we manufacture, are we putting it out to the country, or are we bringing in more things? And so it's a little bit of misleading because, yes, we in fact do have, when it comes to goods, when it comes to things that we manufacture, we have a deficit, which means that we are bringing in more things from China and from Southeast Asia and from Europe. We're bringing in more things, more hard assets, if you will, than we're selling abroad. But so we have a deficit there. But unfortunately, or fortunately for that matter, our economy, our global economy right now, our the United States economy is much more service and technology related. And so when it comes to services, or when you factor in services and technology, we in fact have a surplus, in the sense that we actually put more of our services, offer more of our services on a global level than we import. So it all depends on what we're actually looking at.
Right. And in the end, it was ultimately determined when it came to Canada, for example, that when you balance the two together, we were pretty even, pretty flat.
Oh, absolutely, and that's really the more frustrating thing too. Because, like, for example, the minute that President Trump mentioned the tariffs on steel and aluminum. Now, one thing, they are relatively minor. I mean, to begin with, because the steel manufacturing is not as large as it once was in our country. But here are the people that are affected most by it. We import the most from the European Union, and then Canada, and then South Korea, and then Mexico, Brazil, so forth and so on. So these are generally our friends.
Right.
So if we're slapping tariffs on our friends, I don't know what's going to happen to our enemies.
Well, time will tell, that is for sure. We're talking with Matt Peck. He is one of the co-owners of SHP Financial, and he's also a co-host of the popular radio show Retirement Roadmap radio show. You can hear that right here on WRKO. Hey, Matt, thanks very much. Great insight today.
Anytime. Thanks so much for having me again.
You bet. It's 9:43. Let's check in with Andy Carboni.